Who doesn't love movies, Belle?
I'm not a fan.
Oh, that won't do. You should dedicate all the free time you have to watching movies. It's practically an unwritten law. Films guide us. Films are filled with every important life lesson there is.
Is that so?
For example, They Live, 1988, directed by John Carpenter. That film taught us a valuable lesson. Always put on your sunglasses before a fight.
You know, you've got a point. Movies teach us about everything we need to know. I learned about the right way to eat frozen pizza from Cobra. It's one of Stallone's best films. Before that, I wouldn't be caught dead trying to eat frozen pizza. I thought it wasn't fit for human consumption. But that film changed my life.
Simon, that has nothing to do with the film. You're just talking about pizza.
Like what? What's the last one you saw?
The one with Schwarzenegger, where there's all these clones.
The Sixth Day, 2000, directed by Roger Spottiswoode. You must be very well versed in sci-fi if you can appreciate an Arnold S. film.
I thought it was way too easy for them to make more clones. And you'd never see a clumsy investigation like that on CSI.
That's right. It's realistic. Everything about that film is so realistic. It may be difficult for a child to understand. But, Patty, that's not your fault. All of Arnold S.'s films are filled with hyper-realism, you know. On top of that, Roger Spottiswoode is a director who excels in dealing with hardcore subject matter. Turner and Hooch, Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. Each film features one of the toughest tag teams you'll ever find. I can see why it's beyond you, though.
No, what I'm trying to say is, Schwarzenegger's character was just a pilot, right? Why was he so strong?
It's okay, Patty. You don't need to try and act like an adult to impress me. I didn't understand the charm of Arnold S. films when I was your age either. You need to take your time and slowly reel the film in. Do that, and Arnold S. will greet you with a big, warm smile.
Whatever, just stop calling him Arnold S., okay? It's irritating me.
Zach, she's at a sensitive age. We both know full well that this is the official way to refer to the film star, but she isn't used to it, so it's bothering her. When in Rome, Schwarzenegger will greet you with a big, warm smile. Zach, my mouth feels weird. How many fingers do you think we'd need to count the number of people who actually call him Schwarzenegger? We'll just have to stomach it for her sake, Zach. I've seen several trophies made out of human skin, but never a buffalo. Looking at him brings out this strange feeling. Yes, the very same feeling I got when watching a certain film from 1984, 2010. The last scene in that film filled me with it was filled with everything that was missing from the finale of 2001. Just talking about it makes me want to watch it. Let's watch it once we get home. Promise, Zach. Alligators do attack people, and it could happen in any town.
Huh?
Alligator, 1980. Directed by Louis T. It takes place in the Midwest, I believe. A teenage girl's pet alligator gets flushed down the toilet. Then, in the sewer, it feeds on the corpses of dogs that were used as test subjects for an experimental growth formula. After growing over 30 feet, it finally starts to go after humans. It's an extremely edifying movie. Back when I first saw it, I had a pet hamster.
Hey, Agent York.
I'll bet that scene reminded you of a certain film, or perhaps a certain person. Violent City, 1970, directed by Sergio Solima. I only ever saw it on TV when I was a kid, so I don't remember it very well. But I definitely remember that it featured a bridge, a long bridge. During the New Orleans part, that's the one thing I remember. That bridge must have been the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway. And the film starred Charles Bronson. Charles Bronson. Charles Bronson. What an amazing sound. You couldn't possibly find another man whose name matches his appearance so perfectly. Yes, of course I know that Charles Bronson isn't his real name. Charles Dennis Buczynski. That's his real name, but he's Bronson. Period. Zach, what's your favorite Bronson film? Death Wish? The Magnificent Seven? Rider on the Rain? Or Farewell Friend? They're all masterpieces, but to me, his greatest work lies elsewhere. That's it, Zach. No wonder we get along so well. I don't care what anyone else says. His greatest film by far is 10 to Midnight, 1983, directed by J. Lee Thompson. There's no realism to be found in this movie, but that's what makes it so great. One might even call it a fantasy masterpiece. It was certainly filled with unprecedented fantasy compared to other police thrillers, that's for sure. You know, Zach, I'm suddenly getting the urge to watch it again. Let's hurry up and solve this case so that we can go rent the DVD. By the way, Zach, Hungan feels very familiar to me. You might even say he reminds me of someone. Yes, I think I see the connection now. A cheerful, wise, yet also mysterious African-American who appeared in a variety of different films. My mind must be overlapping him with the skeletal gentleman. Do you remember his name? Ah, yes, that's it. Scatman Crothers. In 1980, he played Dick Halloran in The Shining. And in 1983, he was in The Twilight Zone. He played the man who invited all those elderly folks into a strange new world. I knew it, Zach. There's definitely a connection here. But he's a bit too old. Scatman's more of a sage character. Our skeletal gentleman is a little younger, isn't he? Yes. They have different body types, but what about Forrest Whitaker? He made his debut in 1982 in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Then he was in Platoon and The Color of Money, both released in 1986, followed by Good Morning Vietnam in 1987. Oh, and he was in Bird in 1988. What an impressive filmography. Across the 80s, he transformed his rough, young image into a more cheerful, wiser one. That's why the 80s can also be described as the decade that built up Forrest Whitaker's career. I firmly believe that he'll win an Academy Award for Best Actor someday. Yes, I'm sure it's right around the corner. He'll most likely wait until the time is ripe. Maybe around next year, then he'll unleash his best performance yet. Zach, I could go on about famous actors forever, but we have a case to solve here. Let's table this discussion for now.
Patty, the truth is, when I first saw Okra Boy, I remembered something horrific. The most evil monster I've ever seen, in fact.
A monster?
Oh yes, a demon incarnate who plunged New York City into mortal fear. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Marshmallow?
Ghostbusters, 1984, directed by Ivan Reitman. Now that's a film that was filled to the brim with bona fide horror. A true masterpiece that boasted an honest depiction of just how frightening a real ghost would be. Even if you watched it now, I'm sure it would still chill you to the bone. First night I watched it, I was too afraid to go to the bathroom alone. So I made Zach come with me.
The door.
I'm at a loss, Zach. The only thing that comes to mind is a certain lady in glasses who displayed her middle finger to a truck driver.
The student driver who was driving the car that Leslie Nielsen jumped into in order to chase down a criminal. 1988, directed by David Zucker, The Naked Gun. That car chase was terrific. It felt like we were watching one of our own car chases from the real world. That director must have gotten some advice from actual police officers. Otherwise, there's no way he would have been able to film such a realistic chase.
Hey, Agent York, can I say something?
So what do you do after you finish all your chores? You don't turn on CNN and pour yourself some bourbon, do you?
CNN? That's kid stuff. What I watch is way more adult than that.
Like what? Live sports?
You just don't get it, Agent York. Full House, Friends, Beverly Hills 90210, sitcoms. Sitcoms are an all-in-one package. Dreams, love, life lessons, science fiction. They've got everything you'd ever want. And some cable channels just show reruns all day long. It's the best. Oh, but my favorite TV show is this old one called MacGyver. The main character is cute and smart. I don't know his real name, but I like him. Oh, and I also like Gil Grissom from CSI. I just think it's adorable how he keeps maggots inside his fridge.
Whoa, look at this. Check it out. This one's got a lot of pizza in it, remember?
You're not wrong, Simon. There's a very large quantity of pizza in that film. 1987, directed by Mel Brooks. The version on that tape is the one we recorded back when you could catch it on cable TV.
Oh, seriously? Damn, Morgan, that's incredible. You're really living the dream, man.
I hope you both haven't forgotten that this conversation is also being recorded.
Tell me what other movies you've seen on that Sci-Fi channel.
You're so annoying. Fine. I saw this one movie where a pretty lady and an old guy fight, and they were both robots.
Ah, Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. 2003, directed by Jonathan Mostow. I knew you were an Arnold S. fan.
Oh, you said it again. Whatever. I'm not a fan of his or anything, okay? He just happened to be in it.
So, what did you think?
I knew of the name Terminator, but it was my first time seeing one of those movies.
What? You've never seen Terminator?
Well, the first two came out before I was even born.
I know, but come on. It's Terminator.
Boys probably like it, but I'm sure most girls don't give two craps about it. Oh, but I know it was directed by the same person who did Titanic.
Titanic? Oh, you mean Raise the Titanic. 1980, directed by Jerry Jameson. But he didn't direct Terminator. He's famous for Airport 77 and The Deadly Tower. You probably know this already, but The Deadly Tower was based on the 1966 Texas Tower Sniper incident. I learned about it at the FBI Academy in Quantico. In the film, Kurt Russell plays Charles Joseph Whitman, the assailant. He really brought the character to life with an awe-inspiring performance. What's wrong, Patty? I'm just trying to talk about Terminator 3, that movie you saw, but you're not paying any attention. So be it. If you're not in the mood to talk, then let's return to the investigation. It's a shame, though. We really wanted to hear more about the films you saw, didn't we, Zach? You know, I keep thinking about that movie we stopped, The Island, 2005, directed by Michael Bay. For a movie being shown at a cinema complex, it was surprisingly artistic, an experimental setting mixed with hard-hitting drama. It was art house sci-fi. That director's going to change the history of art house films. Are you following me here? This is another special film that's setting a new standard, just like Star Wars and Blade Runner did. This is a turning point, Zach. You may be witnessing the birth of a vital new word that will soon become a part of film. Yes, this single movie may be responsible for creating a whole new genre, a genre known as island movies. I sure like the sound of that. Don't you, Zach? A few more years, and I'm sure we'll start seeing cars that run purely on electricity. Who knows? In a decade or so, electric sports cars may end up lining the parking lots of Silicon Valley. I can see it now. It's the world of The Last Starfighter, 1984, directed by Nick Castle. It's famous for being the first film to utilize realistic CG, but I couldn't care less about that. See, I was mesmerized by the beautifully refined mech designs. It even made me wish that I could be one of them myself. Especially the Gunstar spacecraft. No other sci-fi movie has ever had.
Yeah.
It's always been that way, hasn't it? Think back with me. Remember that hotel in the rundown town near Monroeville, just outside of Pittsburgh? I took a shower, and by the time I got back into bed, it had already started. Time Walker. 1982, directed by Tom Kennedy. I started watching it without any idea as to what it was about, but it instantly got me hooked. The plot highly exceeded all my expectations, constantly revealing shocking truth after shocking truth. It was a hyper-realism masterpiece. Even after we checked out from the hotel, we couldn't get that film out of our heads. Not even when we stopped by the Monroeville Mall, the primary filming location for Dawn of the Dead. Instead of the living dead, both you and I were totally preoccupied with thoughts of that living mummy. And we were so excited to visit the Monroeville Mall, too. You kept insisting that you were going to track down those kumquats that Roger had eaten. In fact, I'm pretty sure the only reason I took on that case was because I knew it would let us travel out there. Instead, Time Walker blindsided us. And that's all we could think about. Even when we were inside the mall, we were both off in a different world. There you have it, Zach. A beautiful memory of an encounter with an 80s masterpiece in a very unexpected place. What the? Zach, I don't even need to say it, do I? This is right out of that movie. Videodrome, 1982, directed by David Cronenberg. At the time, it was seen as a hard movie to digest for normal moviegoers, but now it's become a cult classic. I always just saw it as another weird Canadian movie, but this changes everything. My arm and my gun have become one. Now I can really understand what Max was going through. The one who fired the pistol at heaven. Firing pistols at the sky might be a rather common occurrence for the South. Remember? Young Guns, 1988, directed by Christopher Kane. There's that great scene where Emilio Estevez keeps firing his Colt M1877 up at the sky. Oh, but that film took place in New Mexico, didn't it? And the Oracle probably isn't referring to a situation like that.